Fundraising reports were released this week for the Denver mayoral candidates as Michael Hancock formally announced his bid for re-election. Hancock enters the race with over $1 million in his war chest, but his current opponents also reported strong numbers for the end of 2018. Eric, an incumbent always walks into a race stronger than the opponents, usually financially. Is this an overwhelming advantage or what we should expect at this stage of the game?
It's what you should expect. It's a notable advantage, but $1 million is real money, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to win a mayoral election. There's an early primary going on, in my mind, for who is the alternative candidate who is going to emerge to take on Michael Hancock. Jamie Gillis had a very good quarter. She raised almost as much money in the last quarter as Hancock did. Obviously, Hancock had 700,000 or something like that in the bank beforehand. Our friend around this table, Penfield Tate, was lagging somewhat in the money. I guess the point I would make, Dominic, is unlike gubernatorial races we saw with Jared Polis, unlike Senate races where the money is such a big deal, Denver history, over not that many years, is rife with candidates who were not the big fundraisers. You go back to Federico Pena, go back to Wellington Webb, go back to a gentleman named Michael Hancock 8 years ago. They weren't the ones leading the pack and fundraising early on. There are different dynamics that work in a mayor's race. Somebody's going to emerge to be a serious challenger, in my estimation. We don't yet know whom, but Jamie Gillis perhaps has an early leg up.
Ed, is the business community a bit divided on this one? You have a strong incumbent who has done clearly a lot with developers, but you have Jamie Gillis over here who has also done a lot in her own way. Do you have a sense of if there is an advantage for any candidate at this point in the business community?
Yeah, I mean, the business community has largely been a Hancock favoring community so far. There have been some missteps he's made with them, but for the most part, when you look back at everything from the camping ban to his coming out against the Green Roofs Initiative to all kinds of things like that, you see support there. I expect he will continue to get a lot of support there. And in fact, I think that's going to be what the contenders who are running against Michael Hancock are running to do. Say, who is going to be the most anti-Hancock? I think there's a little bit of personal ethics issues at play here. I don't think a little bit, I think a serious amount. But I think there's going to be the Hancock sold the city out to development angle too. And I think the important thing to remember when we're talking about his money needs to get him 50% plus one. He falls anywhere short of that, then it's going to be a one-on-one race for a month with someone in the runoff, in which you really get the pro-Hancock versus anti-Hancock visions out there. And if we want to realize just how important that is, remember, Chris Romer got 48%, the Hancock's 31% in 2011 before they went into the runoff, when Chris Romer took an absurd turn towards social issues and Hancock smoked him. But that's the important thing, is that if they can just get it down to one-on-one, I don't think the money matters as much. Then it becomes really about the vision of Denver.
Patty, what do you think? From the numbers we've seen, it seems that the incumbent mayor, Hancock, is in a strong position, but it's January.
Well, and incumbents are generally in good positions unless they have snowfall on election day, as happened to Mayor McNichols. Jamie Gillis did raise as much money just about as in the last quarter, but that was also her first quarter race in the race. I think Ed's exactly right, which is you have to get that 50% if you're Michael Hancock, or else you are just going to be beaten up nonstop by people who are tired, want anyone but Hancock. And what's really going to matter is the ground game, and that is something you can't really buy. You've got to have, unless you have want to pay for a very expensive organizer, but people who are fueled by passion and want to go knock on their neighbors' doors, that's going to make the big difference. The public appearances and the word of mouth and the people feeling they're really being listened to. And I think a lot of people think they haven't been listened to over the last 8 years.
Craig, what do you think we'll see from Mayor Hancock in order to try to keep his advantage at this point?
Well, he's a cheerleader for himself. He's regained some momentum after the Leslie Branch Wise sex texting debacle. Is that over? I'm not sure. Fundraising for Jamie Gillis is pretty good. Penn Tate, I was surprised he did not raise more, but when I hear about a one-on-one, that would be a heck of a matchup. Lisa Calderon, surprised how weak her numbers were. Mayor Hancock is vulnerable, and I think he understands it on this safe injection side issue. And he's reversed course on 9 News with Kyle Clark. There's a lot of pressure. Is Denver really that liberal? Probably. Is Colorado that liberal? I doubt it. Will a mayoral candidate take him on this? It would be hard to take him on now that he says we're going to push the brakes. Kudos to the people of my radio station for, in my opinion, presenting the correct argument. Denver does not want to be the first safe injection site in America.